Jesus is not returning on September 23rd, 2025, and I'm going to tell you why very quick, very short for all you Christians who believe this from a lot of other people that are saying it. You know, the pastor in Africa that said he had a vision and Jesus told him he would return in September. Why? Because of the Feast of Trumpets. See, that's where it all begins. For those of you that are Christians that are not Torah observant, pertaining to the original biblical faith, that is a Hebrew rooted Israelite faith, that is where the misunderstanding comes from. Because when you haven't heard this before, everybody hears this every year. Everybody assumes that Jesus is going to return on the Feast of Trumpets every single year. And they're going to quote Matthew 24. And then the people that don't really know how to articulate, the people that don't understand the feast days, the people that oppose every time that he comes for the Feast of Trumpets, their go-to is always Matthew 24, where it says, "No man knows the day or the hour." Now, this is the exact same verse where people will point to you and say, "No man knows the day or the hour," is a Hebrew idiom for the Feast of Trumpets. Because why? Because Israel has to go out and observe a sliver moon to determine when the feast starts at sunset. And if the moon doesn't show, then they move it to the next day. And this is what they used to do in the Second Temple period when it was running. This is exactly what they did. Okay, so it's not made up. However, it is made up because there is no Hebrew idiom for "no man knows the day or the hour." It is not a Hebrew idiom to the Feast of Trumpets. There is no Talmudic history, Mishnaic writing, or any other Pharisee doctrine that can be found, or biblical doctrine, or anything within the church fathers. There is nothing in biblical history whatsoever. Not even from Maimonides, in the Zohar, nothing. There is nothing saying that "no man knows the day or the hour" is a Feast of Trumpets Hebrew idiom, because it is not. Let me explain why, again, this is an issue for other reasons. Now, one, we know that Jesus is going to return on the Feast of Trumpets. So going back to "no man knows the day or the hour," because we don't know which Feast of Trumpets he's going to return on. We believe that he comes, according to Matthew 24, after the tribulation is over. He's coming on the Feast of Trumpets after the tribulation is over, period. The tribulation has not started yet. And I don't believe in a pre-tribulation rapture either. It's not biblical. But again, just pointing back to when is he returning, because no man knows the day or the hour. Why does no man know the day or the hour? Another reason why is because there is a biblical calendar dispute. And it's been going on since the Second Temple period. Because the biblical calendar from the Old Testament days all the way to Moses, all the way to Enoch, is not just the Enoch calendar by name, but the Dead Sea Scroll Zadok calendar. That's very different from the lunar calendar that has been observed from the Second Temple period forward, since the compromise of the Maccabees, when they took over the priesthood illegitimately and compromised the whole system from within. That's the long story short, okay? You can go find other videos that I've done and many others have done to explain this in a lot of depth. So no man knows the day or the hour, because one, if you're on the wrong calendar, you're not going to know. And two, if we have the right calendar, but we don't know how to use it, because even with the one that we have, there are disputes. One is a week ahead. One doesn't want to use the weekly cycles that we follow. So if he comes back on the Feast of Trumpets, we're not going to know what day or what hour. And why what hour? Oh, well, because whatever time he comes back on, it's going to be on Jerusalem time. If he comes in the morning on Yom Teruah, how are we going to know? Over here in the U.S., on the south side of California, it's going to be 10 p.m. Are you going to be awake when he comes back? First thing in the morning? At the first watch, first hour of the first watch, which is 7 a.m. biblically? You're not even going to think about that. You're going to think he's going to come over here at 7 a.m. on Pacific time, and he's not. He's coming on Israel time. If he comes at sunset, what time is it going to be over here in the U.S.? Are you even going to be aware of that? It's going to be morning. Because Paul makes it very clear. We will know. We are the sons of light. That day of the Lord will not come upon us as those who sleep during the night and don't keep watch. We're going to know because Paul knew Jesus was going to return on a feast day, Yom Teruah. And it's because of the First Thessalonians giveaway on the connection between his return and the connection to the feast. So see, everybody knows he's going to return on that feast day. We just don't know which one and which year. It's going to be when the tribulation is over, and it hasn't begun yet. And then we're going to know it's going to be on the proper biblical calendar, not the lunar one that everybody follows. September 23rd is not going to be the biblical date you're looking for at this moment with a sliver moon. It's not. Automatic disqualification based on biblical principles. So he's not coming this year on September 23rd. He's not. Everything pertaining to his return will be in direct alignment with the feast days. This is the first thing that we learn in our Torah portions for our first year of going through the Torah portions. If you don't know what that is, you have to go through it as a Christian. You have to be taught as an Israelite was taught. You have to understand the Torah through the first century, through their eyes and its relationship to the Messiah and to its relationship to you. We are taught in our first year of how he fulfilled the spring feast in his first coming and how he fulfills them in his second coming. And this is why we keep the feast. Not only because we are commanded to, and they are a statute forever to every generation that believes, Israelite and non-Israelite, and in the millennium kingdom, but all of a sudden during this age they don't apply, and we're not supposed to keep them. We don't have to keep them to be saved, and all this nonsense that makes no sense. We don't keep the feast to get into heaven, to be saved as a requirement. No, we keep them because we're going to be keeping them forever in the millennium and after. This is why the Christians are the ones making all these videos that he's going to return. You have no solid biblical foundation of the Torah pertaining to your walk, and that's why every year somebody's going to proclaim that he's coming back on a lunar calendar date. And it's all the wrong information, and all the right information is out there. You just have to go and search the things up that I mentioned. You have to do a very deep dive into the scriptures. You have to be taught the Torah to understand it and how it pertains to your walk and how it pertains to the fulfillment of the Messiah when he returns, and why there's no pre-tribulation rapture and everything else pertaining to this topic. No man knows the day or the hour because of all the reasons I stated. Jerusalem time and the proper day, and it's not a lunar date. I hope that brought clarity for everybody. You can rest safely knowing he ain't returning anytime soon until a lot of things start kicking off in that direction. When you know we're in the tribulation, then you can start speculating when he's returning. Then you can start worrying about what calendar you're on. Then you can start worrying about when that feast is coming up. Then you will know. But you will know to a certain degree. You won't know if he comes in the morning. You won't know if he comes in the evening. And wherever you happen to be on this earth, you will need to know or be prepared for his return during that time that's going to be on Israel time. That's what Matthew 24 means. It doesn't mean it just happens on a day that nobody ever will know in history, and so just always be ready. No, it's after the tribulation. It's in a fulfillment of his biblical feast days. It has to be, because back in Exodus 19, that's how God descended on Mount Sinai. There were angels, there was a loud shofar blast, there was thunder and lightning, and when he went on the mountain, fire descended. Yeshua returns in Zechariah 14 on a mountain, the mountain that he ascended in the book of Acts, Mount of Olives, and it's going to split in half. There's going to be thunder, and he's going to come across the sky like lightning. He's going to have angels. He's going to be riding on a cloud. There's going to be angels. There's going to be trumpets, just like it says in Deuteronomy, pertaining to Mount Sinai, when there were thousands and myriads of angels on Mount Sinai, witnessing the giving of the commandments when God spoke the 10 commandments. And in Leviticus 23, it says that the Feast of Trumpets is a memorial, but we're not given what that memorial was. The memorial was when God descended on Mount Sinai. So the memorial is when God descended, and all the details from Exodus 19 on how he descended and how all these ways he descended point strictly to the future of the Messiah coming in the same exact way. The Feast of Trumpets will be fulfilled when Messiah returns on it. That's a biblical fact. We know when he's coming. We are the sons of light, not the sons of darkness. We will not be overtaken by that day. Paul said that because he knew. And we know. As Messianics, as Torah observant believers, we know this too. Christians, Catholics, everybody else, you guys got to catch up.